So as you guys know, my name is Miss Wong, or if you call me Miss Rachel, I would answer to you too. So I actually studied English literature at the University of Toronto. So super comfortable with writing, reading. Those are all my favorite things. My favorite thing to study is poetry. So that is actually what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to just very quickly explain what we're going to do. We're going to do a little bit of a review for poetic devices, and I will explain what they are if you don't remember. I'm sure you've heard of some of them before, but if you completely don't know what it is, or if you don't remember any of it, it's perfectly fine. I'll help you refresh your memory for that. And then we're going to analyze a poem together. Okay, we're going to read maybe 1 or 2 poems. And then we're going to do a little bit of writing. So since there's so many of us, when you're writing, you can use the chat or the screen, but for today, we're going to stick to the chat. You can send a direct message to me, or you can share to everyone, whatever you're comfortable with, as long as I can see your answer. All right. And because today is just a trial class, if you feel like you're a little bit unsure, if you're uncomfortable, please don't hesitate to ask questions, okay? At any moment. So that is what we're going to be doing for today. We can start off by just introducing ourselves. Does anyone want to just briefly introduce themselves? Anybody feel comfortable with introducing themselves? You can tell me what your name is, what grade you're in, and maybe what subject you like in school. Anybody? Are we feeling a little bit shy today? We're just meeting each other for the first time. Nobody wants to go? No? Okay, how about I go first, and then maybe I'll pick on some of you, okay? So I already mentioned what my name is, Miss Wong or Miss Rachel. When I was in grade 7 and 8, my favorite subject was actually always art. Actually, even till this day, I love art. And then slowly, as I got into high school, English became my favorite subject, which is why I chose to study it. And then now I'm a teacher. I teach elementary. I'm very comfortable kindergarten to grade 8 and even high school. But since I studied it in university, I am happy to teach it at any grade level. Super comfortable with that. I love to read. I love to draw. I can paint. I love hiking outside. Those are all my favorite things. Okay, so I do want to get to know some of you guys. Anna, do you feel comfortable with sharing a little bit about yourself? So you can tell me your name, what grade you're in, and your favorite things to do, or like your favorite subject at school. Anna, do you want to go or no? Are you feeling comfortable?
I could go. So my name is Anna, and my favorite subject at school is maths, because I was always passionate in this subject. And I'm in 6th grade for Quebec, like in Quebec. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Anna. Leo, would you like to share?
My name is Leo, and I'm grade 7. I like to playing badminton.
Awesome. Thank you, Leo, for sharing. Cece, would you like to share?
So my name is Cece. I'm in grade 7, and my favorite subject at school is art and PE, even though I'm not good at physical education, actually.
That's fun, but it's good to be active, for sure. Thank you for sharing. Yvonne, would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. My name is Yvonne. My favorite subjects are arts and science, and I like to play badminton.
Awesome. Oh, good. We have a bunch. Seems like a lot of us like badminton. I'm happy to hear that we're active because that's super important. How about last one? Amy, would you like to share?
Yeah, my name is Amy. I'm grade 8, and I like to. My favorite subject is math.
Awesome. Okay, we have a couple of math lovers as well. Happy to hear that. Hopefully, I will change your mind and you guys will start liking English because English is my favorite thing to do. Oh, okay, so we are gonna go over some poetic devices. These are also known as literary devices. Has anyone heard of this before? Literary devices or poetic devices? No, yes, no. I see some nods, but not really. I feel like as I'm going through them, you might recognize some of them, okay? So I'm just gonna go through them and kind of quickly because wow, there's quite a lot of it. Not all of them are on here. There's way more, but due to timing today, and since it's trial class, I'm not gonna go through all of them. We're just gonna go through some. Maybe you recognize some of them, maybe you don't really, and that's perfectly fine. So the first one is called alliteration. So this occurs when the author or poet uses the same letter or sound to begin each word in a string of words. So for example, Abby's alligator ate apples and asparagus. So every single word in this sentence, in this line, starts with an A. You can also have different sounds. It doesn't necessarily have to be an A. It could be SH sound. It could start all with B. It could start with all with T. It doesn't always have to be A. And this example happens to be starting with an A. So this is used by, I'm going to focus on poets specifically because we're talking about poetry, my favorite thing. Poets like to use this to draw your attention. So they use alliteration to emphasize the sounds of the words, and they're trying to draw your attention to these words. So whenever you see a poet doing this or using this, it means they want you to pay attention to the sound of those words. Okay, so that's for alliteration. The next one is allusion. This one is quite fun to write about, I personally think. So an allusion is a figure of speech that makes reference to a well-known person, event, or place, such as I was surprised his nose wasn't growing like Pinocchio's. So maybe you caught someone lying, okay, and you were like, oh, this person is like Pinocchio, their nose is just growing. Allusions can make reference to celebrities, any famous rapper or singer you know, a movie, TV shows, the Bible. The Bible is a very popular one. You're going to see allusions to the Bible time and time again. But anything that makes reference to something popular, whether that be SpongeBob or a movie that you like, that is considered a allusion. Okay, so as long as it makes reference to something famous. I'm going to skip over this one. I want to do hyperbole. This one's quite popular as well. So hyperbole is a exaggerated comment or line used for effect and not meant to be taken literally. For example, I've told you 1,000,000 times. So this is very popular when maybe you're, for example, if you're telling a story and you're exaggerating it to make it more interesting. You might say something like, I told you 1,000,000 times not to lie. Obviously, you didn't say that 1,000,000 times, but you're exaggerating. Or you might say something like, I waited in line for 10 gajillion years. So you're exaggerating, you're making it a bit more interesting to understand. You might see this a lot in writing and in poetry. Okay, next one, imagery. So imagery is language evoking. It means it uses all 5 senses. So whenever you see writing that is super descriptive and it kind of appeals to your 5 senses. So I'm talking about your sight, hearing, feeling, touching, am I missing a taste? Any sort of language that appeals to the 5 senses. So for example, she ordered a triple scoop of mint chocolate chip ice cream with hot fudge and whipped cream. That is making my mouth water when I hear that. And so that is imagery. You're going to see a lot of imagery in poetry for sure. So this is a very key one. Metaphor, you might have heard of this. Metaphor is when you make a direct comparison between 2 unlike things without using like or as. So example would be, you are the light of my life. So you are comparing a person to light. You're saying they're a very bright person, they're very lively, they bring energy to your life maybe. So you're comparing that person to light itself. Another example I can think of is, during the winter, my hands are blocks of ice. You're comparing your hands, the coldness of your hands, to a block of ice. So that is a metaphor. The next one is personification. This happens when an author gives animals, objects, ideas, or actions the qualities of humans. So for example, the calm sea kissed the southern shore, or the leaves danced in the wind. Obviously, leaves can't dance. The sea cannot kiss anything. They don't have mouths, right? So all of these are giving human-like qualities to things that cannot be human. That is what personification is. You can remember this by the word person in front of it. The next one, you might have heard of this one as well, simile. So a simile is a comparison of two unlikely items using like or as. So this is like a metaphor, but you're using like or as. So for example, the pine trees stood as tall as statues. You're comparing pine trees to statues. You might also say, let me think of an example. My hands are like ice cubes. Okay, so it means your hands are as cold as ice cubes. So metaphors and similes are kind of similar, except simile uses like or as. Okay, last two, symbolism. This is probably my most favorite thing to write about, because symbols, you can interpret them in so many different ways, and it's just really, really fun to write about because they kind of bring out the deeper meaning in poetry and writing. So symbolism is an object or action that means something more than its literal meaning. A symbol meaning rarely changes from text to text. Rainy days always mean bad, so having a bad day or hard times. Other really popular symbols are the color white. So white can symbolize peace, purity, innocence. So even a color can be a symbol. Another really popular symbol is the apple. So if you guys know from like the Bible, the apple can mean temptation. So I'm making reference to Adam and Eve and the apple, if you're familiar with the Bible or if you're religious. The apple could also mean the result of something, right? Because it's a fruit. So an end result of something. Another really popular symbol would be, if I'm sticking to the Bible again, the snake. So again, temptation, evil, it would symbolize. Okay, so all different types of things could symbolize different things. Colors are usually a really big symbol of something. And then last but not least, we have tone or mood. So tone or mood is the attitude an author takes towards the shape and life of the words. Tone and mood give voice and personality to the characters as well as the whole piece, where the reader gets a sense of funny, serious, dramatic, and etc. So if you're reading a piece of writing, let's say you're reading a newspaper article and you get the sense that this author is very angry. Maybe they're upset that the government is doing something they don't like, and they're using words that sound very angry. That is called tone or mood. Okay, whenever you get a sense of what the author's attitude is towards something. Okay, so those are all your poetic devices or literary devices. The reason why I had us review these things, it's because we will be talking about it later on, and we just need a quick sense of what they are first. And these things help us understand a poem or writing better, and it makes us more interesting. It's more interesting when we know these things, and it helps us understand what it's trying to say. So we're going to jump into our first poetry analysis now. So this is called Tavern by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Can I get a friend to read the poem? So the poem is inside this rectangular box. Does anyone feel comfortable reading it right now? If not, I might pick somebody. Anybody? Elena, do you feel comfortable reading it? No? Okay, I'm not gonna have you read it if you don't feel comfortable. Amy, do you feel comfortable reading it?
Okay.
Okay. Inside the
Yeah.
rectangular box, okay?
Okay. I will keep a little tavern below the light high hills crest, wherein all gray-eyed people may sit them down and rest. There shall be place aplenty, and marks to melt the chill of all the gray-eyed people who happen up the hill. The sound their sound will sleep the traveler, and dream is his journey's end. But I will rose at midnight, the falling fire to tend. Tis a curious fancy, but all the good I know was taught me out of two gray eyes a long time ago.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, so when we're first analyzing poetry, if you don't really understand what it's saying, pick out keywords. So my tip for you is pick words that are repeated. So gray-eyed people is repeated. Something to do with gray eyes, okay? So these are repeated. So that means that the poet wants you to notice these things. The second thing is hill. Hill has been repeated quite a bit, okay? And then looking, of course, tavern is going to be important because it's in the title. So first you would ask yourself, okay, what is a tavern? So you know a tavern is where people kind of chill out, they relax when they're going on a long journey. Okay, so we know it's about something to do with traveling. Okay, we know they sit down and rest there. They might eat a little bit. They might chit chat with fellow travelers there. Okay, so you get a sense that this is about a traveler. It's a traveler going to a tavern, sitting down and resting. They meet gray-eyed people. So if you don't know what gray-eyed people is, break down each word. Ask yourself, what does gray usually mean? Gray could mean old, okay? Gray is not a very bright color, so it probably means like old people. Okay, that's what you can kind of conclude from it. So other old travelers. Okay, so that is to help you take apart the poem and understand the meaning. So we can kind of gather that it's about a traveler going to a tavern, maybe getting a bite to eat, meeting some old people there. Maybe he knows them, maybe he doesn't. We know that it's going to be a lot of people, plates aplenty, meaning there's more plates to go around than they expect. They're just chilling out there, and 'tis a curious fancy, but all good I know. So it might not be a very fancy place, but to him it's a fancy place because if you imagine like the old times, a traveler, they don't have their house, right? They're traveling from place to place, but to him, this is very luxurious. It's a very nice place. Okay, so I kind of helped you out dissect the poem a little bit. What I want you to do now, so this is your work to do. You're going to doing some writing now. You're going to be answering some questions. So number 1 says, paraphrase a poem. So it means you are writing me a paragraph or a couple of sentences summarizing what is happening in the poem. Okay? Don't worry about being right or wrong right now. Whatever you think, you're just going to write it. Okay, I gave you some hints. I kind of broke down the poem for you. You can do this in the chat and you can send me a private message what you think this poem is about. You're just going to summarize it for me. Okay, does anyone have any questions on what you need to do? Okay, if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to ask. But you guys can go ahead, take your time, write me a couple of sentences explaining and summarizing what this poem is about. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Thank you, Derek. Yeah, Derek, don't worry too much about being right or wrong. It's okay. Thank you, Howard. Okay, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna talk about it. So most of you, I mean, thank you for those of you who gave me very detailed responses. That is awesome. That is exactly how you would get good grades in school, by giving lots of details. So most of you did get it. As I mentioned, you're traveling. There's a traveler, okay? He's traveling, he gets tired, and a tavern is kind of like a roadside stop or kind of like a rundown, not quite a hotel, but you can kind of see as a hotel. It's like a place to stop and rest. And then you meet all these great-eyed people who we would say are probably old. We can probably say they're either old or they're very maybe very tired. You can say tired or old, because when you think of the color gray, it's kind of like a muted color. It's a very dull color. It's not a bright color, so we wouldn't associate it with like young people. So old people or maybe really tired people, they come down and rest. Plates aplenty. So some of you talked about just taking a seat, maybe having a snack, which makes sense because they're plates, right? We eat on those plates. And mugs, we drink from them. So if you wrote down you're eating and drinking, pretty good guess that it's about that, right? And then we're up on a hill. Some of you guys talked about that. That's awesome. And then the rest is I'm pretty happy with everyone's responses. And as I said, don't worry too much about being right or wrong. Poetry is open to interpretation. As long as you back up your answer and you say, here's my proof, you can prove your point. Okay, and you can get a good grade from doing that. So let's answer the next question. Oh, which words from the poem have a strong connotation or emotional association? So what this question is asking you is, looking at the poem, which words stand out to you and have some sort of really strong emotional connection? So for example, you don't have to use this one, but if you're having trouble finding one, I suggest you to use this one. We talked a lot about great-eyed people. Talk about the color gray, okay? What does the color gray, what kind of feeling does it give you? Talk about that. The other thing you might talk about is plates of plenty. Okay, plates of plenty sounds like a very busy place, a very busy, but maybe even welcoming place. You're having a lot of plates, so you're expecting a lot of people. And usually when you have a lot of people, it's kind of like energetic, kind of like a happy scene, right? So you can also talk about that. Okay, well, let's just stick to these two. So if you're not sure what to write about these two. Talk about what kind of feeling the color gray gives you. And then talk about what plates of plenty, what kind of feeling does that give you? Again, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. Same thing, use the chat. Okay, so most of us chose to do great-eyed people, which is perfectly fine. I just want to mention that Yvonne, your response is wonderful. You went into so much depth about the color gray, which you should be doing. But most of you nailed it. Just I have nothing to say because the responses were very, very good, very detailed. You guys talk about what is the symbol of gray. Okay, so you talked about dullness, being tired, why people would use gray in general versus like a bright color. So you guys did really, really good with this one. Very, very good. I'm very impressed. Okay, question 3. What is the poem's tone / attitude? How can you tell? So I think what I'm going to do is I want to type this question into the chat. What is the poem's? Because I want to make sure that we can see the poem on our screen. So I want to make sure we have the question right in the chat. How can you tell? So again, with tone and mood, it's about what you think the poet's attitude toward this topic is. So what do you think they're feeling towards it? Are they happy? Are they energetic? Are they gloomy? Are they serious? Are they angry? What is their attitude towards these travelers going to a tavern and just chilling out, relaxing, maybe chit-chatting with their friends? You're going to tell me what you think it is. And then the next part of the question asks you, how can you tell? So what that really is asking you, prove it to me. So if you think the poem is exciting or has an exciting mood or tone, what types of words make you think that? Or what kind of lines make you think that? So you might say, oh, plates of plenty, lots of people are going to be there. When there's a lot of people, it's a whole party. That's why it's exciting. Okay, so use textual evidence, pull words from the poem, pull lines from the poem, and prove to me why you think the tone is happy or sad or angry or serious. Okay, again, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, I'm going to just talk about it. So there's a lot of different tones and attitudes, and you guys did say some of them. Okay, so I'm super happy to see that. There's really no right or wrong answer. As long as you can back up your answer, it's totally fine. I do think some of your answers are really interesting. Some of us talked about kind of like a sleepy, dreamy kind of feeling, which I actually really, really like. Okay, it has like kind of like a dream-like tone or mood to it. You're kind of like reflecting back on it. Some of them are saying it has like a really positive or just like a happy mood to it, which is true. It's not a dark poem for sure. It's not a really sad poem. It's kind of like, you're just relaxing. You're casually chilling out with your friends. You're having a meal or two. You're just taking a break. It's not really that serious in any way. So anything along those lines, I think are really good answers. Nobody really said the poem was really angry or upset in any way, which is true. It's really not. It does have like a very, very calm kind of mood and tone to it. So you guys did very well with that. We're not going to have time for the last question, but in regular class, I would correct like grammar and everything, but due to just timing today, I didn't really get a chance to correct anyone's grammar. But normally in normal class, I would, okay? I would just let you know how you could sound a little bit more clearer in your writing. That is something that we want to make sure we're writing really concisely, so we express exactly what we want to express. But we're going to pause here. Does anyone have any questions about what we talked about today? Any questions at all? Or questions about me? If you have any questions about me, that's okay too. If not, I'm going to take that we are happy with today's lessons and we are good to go. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a little bit of something.